Hung Up Pod family, Dr. Jon Paul Higgins isn't just telling a story. They're reclaiming space. That's how I've always, as a follower, admirer of their platform, that's kind of how I've always looked up to Dr. Paul. Through
Thank you.
Fat Black Femme, they challenge the idea that joy has to be sanitized, reminding all of us as Black queer folks, especially those of us that live through and in multiple intersections, that joy itself is resistance. Their work pushes us to stop shrinking and start owning every part of who we are loudly, fully, unapologetically. I'm a fan. Dr. Jon Paul, welcome to the Hunger Podcast.
Hey, how y'all
Hey.
doing? Yes, girl. Welcome. Thank you for having me. This is lovely.
Yes, I love that. Kick the door in and kick up your
Yes.
feet, pour you a little
Okay.
something to drink healthy.
Yes. Yeah,
I know
I had
you
to
said
tell
you
you
had
at
your
the
healthy
pre-show.
shake,
I do have, so for those who are
your
listening, is this,
pre-workout.
yeah, it's kind of a pre-workout situation. Mother does have to get on her Peloton after this, but I
Oh,
am, yes, I very much, I don't drink. So every time people are like, oh, you could, either it's going to be some water, it'll be something sparkly, or it'll probably be some type of juices. Hmm.
well, listen, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
And I know I don't have a whole lot of time with you tonight. So I'm going to jump right into the icebreaker questions.
Yay.
I'm just going to throw out some pop culture, some trending pop culture themes, hot takes,
Okay.
words, and you just kind of give me whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
We
Ain't
really
got
want
to
to hear
tell
what's the
me
first thing
nothing.
that comes to mind. Really, that's what it
Okay, you
is.
ain't got to tell me nothing because you know I'm opinionated AF. So
And
yes.
that's why this is how we have to start this episode out. All
Yes. I
right.
love it.
First one, white face Drewski.
Funny. Because I think it's funny. And I know that there have been a lot of white people being like, well, if we did it, it wouldn't, y'all wouldn't find it funny. And I go, no, if you did it, you would be feeding into
The racism.
centuries
Yes.
of a racism. And y'all started it. And I think Drewski has kind of flipped it on its head and said,
Yeah.
I think what Drewski is doing is actually framing it from this thing of, do you see how ridiculous it is? Like, y'all being white people are ridiculous, but also the idea of blackface, it's so ridiculous and really stupid. So I actually don't have a problem with it. I think it's funny. Some of the ones that he's done, I didn't really pay too much attention to, but the one he most recently did of that lady, which I try not to say her name because of how the algorithms and my phones and
With
the
the
computers and all
eyes.
that, they
We'll
listen.
just say with the eyes.
The lady with the eyes.
The demon
I
eyes.
said online that she's JoJo Siwa's Wario. If you think about it, if you play Super Mario, that
A
lady
little bit.
is JoJo Siwa's Wario, or Waluigi.
I'm cracking up Dr. John Paul because it's like, first of all, the audacity of white folks to get offended,
T.
but not find their hypocrisy and their
That part,
offense.
that part, and they do it every time. They
What
do it
is
every
it like?
time. Every time. You be like,
Okay,
oh, y'all mad, huh?
y'all
So you see what
mad?
250 years of oppression looks like. You see how that feels, right? You know what that's like.
Mhm.
Okay, all right. So and this is the gag. You get it. That's what I've been saying. So you get it and you understand it, but you get mad when okay, all right.
And and you're
Mm-hmm.
selectively oppressing people because if
Selectively
you
oppressed.
get it,
Yep.
if you can feel it, if you can
They
get
know.
online and express your feelings and your
Right.
frustration,
They
then
know.
that means you are aware. You're not as
Comprehend it
dumb
fully.
as y'all act like y'all are when it comes to racism
Mm-hmm,
and the
mm-hmm.
role that white folks that y'all play in it. Y'all
That,
y'all
yep.
really not that dumb. Y'all not.
They really aren't. They really aren't.
Yeah.
So, mm-hmm.
All right, next one. Love and Hip Hop franchise chopped after a 15-year reign this week.
Oh, you know what? So I will say this. I won't name the company I worked for, but for various reasons. But I will say, I had a quick stint when I was working. It was a contracted role. I was doing some um what do you call that? Basically, I was doing a whole bunch of stuff. I was making posts, I was creating stuff for Instagram and TikTok and all of that. I was doing a lot of content creation for not only this agency, but also for the Love and Hip Hop brand. And at the time I was doing it, this was probably maybe last year or early, it was end of 2024, early 2025. I had to watch a lot of the shows that were coming out for the new season that was getting ready to drop. And I just kept thinking to myself, why is this still on?
Ooh,
I kept so when it got announced that it was canceled, I was like, finally,
I said about
like
time, child.
not no shit. I know everybody needs their bags and I know everybody needs a check, right?
Okay.
But it just after a while, how
Carly
many
Red,
store
she definitely need that bag because I don't think she doing nothing else, is she?
I don't. I'm just
Most of the
saying, like,
cast.
no, multiple people on that cast probably needs that MTV check. But I will say, or VH1 check, or whatever the fuck it is. But I was gonna say, I think it's just like things have run its course, and there's only so many ways that we can keep having the same arguments, the same fights, the same stuff. I mean, or at least refresh it and change it up a little bit. I mean, Real Housewives is going through the same thing right now, where it's like they're on season 18 or 19, and I'm looking and I'm going, girl, something's got
A
to
lot of people
give.
are, yeah, shake it
Mm-hmm.
up. People want something different, even though we sort
Yeah.
of are enjoying this current season. Um,
I'm
Especially
a
the
Beverly Hills
read.
girl.
Okay, got
So,
you. Got you.
mm-hmm.
Did you see
Mm-hmm.
the read that Angela had on the recent episode of Housewives of
Mm-mm.
Atlanta? Okay. I'm gonna
No,
send
I
it to you.
didn't. Okay, please.
Hilarious.
Yes.
Hilarious. Her and the new girl that has a shortcut.
Is that Pinky Cole lady?
Vegan, yeah. The
Pinky
vegan
Cole, yeah.
baddie or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Girl, I'm gonna send it to you.
Please.
It's a
I need to
key.
catch up. I really do need to
It's a
catch up.
really, really good key.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I think it's also interesting. Shout out to the higher learning podcast. I thought Van
Oh,
Lathan
yes.
and Rachel and Lindsay had a really good take on
Mm-hmm.
the franchise being chopped after 15 years, and is that with Zeus coming out, and you got the Jocelyn Hernandez's
Yeah.
of the world here. Love
Mm-hmm.
and Hip Hop kind of lost its flavor. Like the thing
Yeah.
that people used to really go to Love and Hip Hop for, if we're keeping it in a bean,
It was a
were the
mess.
confrontations, were the
It was a
arguments, were the
mess. Yep.
fights, were the mess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So and also a real look into the hip hop
Mm-hmm.
stars and moguls of the time that we love, that we're
Right.
listening to their music. People were actually
Right.
interested in what else are you doing in your life? What are you doing in
Right.
your relationship? Like you said, after 15 years, girl. And then you have Zeus coming through, who is no holds bar,
And lets them
uncensored
do
when
whatever
it
they
comes to the
want.
violence and the
Yeah.
confrontation. So, uh,
And some people like mess, and I'm not one of those girls. I will be very transparent in saying like hearing people fight and argue for a very
yeah.
long time triggers me in a lot of ways because I grew up in a very volatile household. So I'm always trying to
Mm.
regulate my system with can I get it's too loud, please, please. But I will say this, I do believe that there's something for everyone, and there is a specific demographic of people who really enjoy that show. And what I will say is I can tell being someone who has had their hand in making reality TV at one point in time in my career,
Mm.
I also can feel the overproduction of it all. And I think there was just this time where we were watching television and it was truly, we're just following people and we're seeing what their day to day is. And we're getting a glimpse into what their life looks like outside of their career. Obviously, right? These people rappers, they're singers, they're rappers and singers, these people were in the industry, and then all of a sudden production came in, and then you just started to feel like things were kind of it became too mechanical. It became very much kind of like you could see very clearly who they were trying to pit against other people. You could see who they were trying to make the villain. And it started to feel forced. And so I think for
Mm.
me, that's the thing that made me kind of change the channel after a while. Even like I said, with a lot of these Real Housewife shows, shout out to all of the girls who are still on and getting the bag. Like I said, I have no problem with people getting their money. But I'm watching some of these shows, even like 90 Day Fiance is a great example. Like I loved 90 Day Fiance in the first few seasons, but now it's just so produced. It is very, very, very produced. And
Yeah.
it
And
waters
very
down.
predictable at this point. Like,
Very predictable. All of it's so predictable.
yeah.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Okay.
mm.
Next one. This has been back in the news and the headlines, particularly in the LGBTQ community this
Okay.
week, because we have little franchises of this like popping up all over the country, even here in Philly. Shout out to Brahim. Pop the Balloon doesn't
Oh.
work for the queer community.
See, this is hard because I don't, how do I say this without getting canceled? I, I think there is a certain demographic. I'll say it this way. This is me jumping into my comms media bag. I think there is a specific person, people, group of folks who enjoy watching, like who go to these shows, who go, and I say both like watching the show, but also being on the show, who actively like to be mean to one another. And I think that that's been the thing that I've had a hard time with the whole pop the balloon of it all. It doesn't feel like, so like for instance, if I'm going into a room and I've been married for 16 years, so I don't want to speak like,
Congratulations.
thank you. I don't want to speak like I know the dating scene because I
Hmm.
don't. But what I'm saying is I think to me, if I was going into a room and I was really there to want to date someone, my first instinct would not to be to want to say something very terribly offensive to someone I barely know. Right. That changes the mood. That changes the whole sense of it all. And so I feel like Pop the Balloon has become a game of how mean can I be to another person for this clip to go viral,
Right.
and or how mean can I be for people
Yeah.
to take this clip and then put it somewhere, and then I become the person that everyone knows for this very mean catty quote unquote thing that I put out there. So I just don't know. I wish, I feel like, and someone has said this, the world has changed so much since the pandemic. I feel like people are becoming more and more meaner to one another. And it's not just queer people. I think it's all of us. We're becoming more meaner
Yes.
to one another. And I feel like the pop the balloon of it all has only added to that. Is some of it funny? Yes. Is some of it, do people send me stuff and I key about it? And I'm like, oh girl, that was messy. Okay, yes. And I see the clips and I do giggle here and there, but I just sometimes I struggle with like watching a whole episode, especially a whole queer episode, because I'm going like, girl, like you're taking out a lot of your trauma on, you're dumping your trauma on someone who literally might truly be there to find a partner. So that's my long hot take in my on my soapbox. So
No, and I'm up there right on your box with you because
mm,
I agree with everything you said, and I think it's unfortunate because I think the shows do kind of perpetuate this thing that we have in the queer community. You talked about it, the meanness, the cattiness,
mhm.
the shade.
Yeah.
How mean can I
Mhm.
be to someone, even if I'm interested in them?
Right.
I What I will say on the flip side, a plus for me is that I love seeing queer people finding joy, and it's just now we're about to make a transition. I have one more question for you
Hmm.
into our meeting, but into our interview, but just starting to really lean in on what you stand for and how you've curated your platform and what
Yeah.
your message is out to community, and that's joy, right? And so
Yeah.
I do appreciate queer people, Black queer people, um, you know, lesbians, because I think Brahim here in Philly just had a lesbian episode, a lesbian version of Pop the Balloon, that we're having fun.
Mm.
That
Hmm.
we're having
Hmm.
fun and we're finding different ways to interact with each other.
Right.
We have some refinement to do, we I
Yeah.
agree with John in the sense that I think a lot of people are just showing up to have a moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be on the host. That's going to have to be on the producers to better vet the people who are
Hmm.
showing up to these things.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of us in community are really looking for companionship.
Or
Loneliness
even
is
just
based.
friends. You
Yes.
you may not find me attractive, but I'm also in the mind of like, I've been
So
saying
don't
this
write
and I
me
will.
off.
Yeah, don't
Yeah.
yeah, don't write just because I'm a little overly effeminate doesn't mean I'm not a good person. Just because, I may have locks, or I may have, a natural, or because I wear my hair short. Like I feel like we look for ways to pick each other apart. And
Because
the
we've
world,
been
and
picked apart.
say it. Like that was exactly where I was about to go. Like
Unpack it.
we have already been treated and done so poorly in this life. And that's the thing for me. Like, I only, my husband said this last night, and he's like, I match
Shout out to your
energy.
husband. I
Yeah,
love y'all.
shout out to Jonathan. I love him.
So
That is,
John and
we're
Jonathan.
both Jonathan, but I go by John.
You go by John. Okay. Okay.
But we're both Jonathan. And I will say, he says I match energy. And that's literally where I'm at too. Like, I
Mhm.
will match your energy, but I never come in. I always tell people this about me, and this is something that I will always stand on. If someone ever tells you that me, John, Dr. John Paul, was mean to Dr. John Paul was mean, ask them, what did you do to piss them off? Because I never go into a space ready to just be nasty to somebody. That is not who I am. That is never who I've been. So if you get me to that place where I'm ready to read you or I'm cutting you with my words, you did something to put
You
me
took me
there.
there.
You took me there. Yeah.
Whitney Houston said, I won't start it, but I'll finish it.
Baby, if you want to go, if you want to go low, bitch, I'm going to hell on the third realm.
Oh, you said the hell with Michelle Obama said.
Yeah, I'm going to the
You said when they go
depths.
low, I'm going to
Lower. I'm going to the depths of hell. I will literally, that is
hell.
me. That is one thing about me. But I try not to be that person. And
Yeah.
so again, I always tell people like we've got to be better about leading with something else. Because what this is, and I say this collectively, is not working.
Right. And it's so easy for us to, inappropriate at times for us to have that defense mechanism up that wall, that aggression, because, like we're unpacking here, of
Mm-hmm.
how we've had to contend with the world and with our families and homophobia and transphobia and femphobia and just xenophobia and just all the things. However,
Mm-hmm.
I think maturing, not just in age, but just in self, is
Yeah.
knowing when to, like, you got to balance that,
Right.
and sometimes in these dating social situations, you got to fall back a little bit. Be
Mm-hmm.
curious. Be
Yeah.
curious. I think that's very
Mm-hmm.
healthy for the mind. I think that's very healthy for the soul, is to stay curious about yourself
Yeah.
and curious about people and community. We have our scars, but don't just write people off, and don't think you know it all. We've only,
Yeah.
it seems like a lot, but we've only just started this journey, and
That
many of
part.
us are not even halfway through. So,
Yeah.
I want to go ahead and transition
Yeah.
because I have some interview questions for you,
Okay.
Dr. John Paul. While I bring these questions up, go ahead and let the people know where they can follow you and support you on social media and where
Yeah.
they can buy your book.
Where so you can buy my book anywhere books are sold. I've been telling people, please buy my book from any of your local bookstores, specifically queer black owned bookstores. I know that I live in Los Angeles, so I've always shouted out the Reparations Club. I know that there's a few other places around Pasadena's. I think I forget the name of the bookstore that's in Pasadena, but it's a black owned bookstore. Off the top of my head, I can't think of the name, but I say all of that to say buy my book from there. If they don't have it when you go in, you can always request it, order it, and then it'll be sent to you. Otherwise, if you're not in a place where you can go to, like if you live in the city and you're just like, yo, I don't have an independent bookstore, it's all city. You can always go into a Barnes and Noble. I know that they carry it. You can always also get it from Amazon. I'm not supporting that, but I'm saying, hey, if you want to get it from Amazon, get it from Amazon. Outside of that, you can find me online. I'm on, these days, my thread count. I like to say my thread count
You
is
be
up.
threatened.
One thing about me is I'm going to thread, honey, but my thread count is up. So follow me over on threads at Dr. John Paul. You can also follow me on Instagram and you can also follow me on the tick of the talk on the clock app. So yeah, same,
That
all Dr.
part.
John Paul. Mm-hmm.
Dr. John Paul. And I'm just
Yes.
really grateful to have, like, that you took time out
Oh,
to
girl,
talk to me.
please.
What is going on? I feel like these first, literally the first 3 or 4 episodes have all been with my guests have been on the West Coast. That is really
Mm.
special. And Hung Up High listeners, y'all know how much I love the West Coast. Every time I get an
Yeah.
opportunity to travel, I do. I don't like to fly, but
Mm.
I got things for that.
Yeah.
I'll book my
I know
flight,
that's
baby.
right.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I might be knocked out. Okay. But I'm gonna wake up when
Be
they tell
ready.
me,
I know
oh,
that's
I need
right.
my Biscoff cookies and my
Yeah,
ginger ale.
look,
I'm gonna eat my
please.
snack. Dr. John
Yeah.
Paul, and I'm gonna go back
Yes.
to
Right
sleep.
to sleep.
I
I
don't
know that's
bother
right. Close the window.
nobody. I don't bother
Hmm.
nobody. But this is the thing, though.
Yeah.
That means I don't like to be bothered.
Yeah. I feel that. I
And
feel that.
sometimes that's difficult depending
It
on who you
is.
got sitting beside you or behind you. You can't control everything. So,
You're not wrong. I'm with you when you write. And it's funny you mentioned that because I actually next week I literally have I tell people this and people think I'm lying. I literally have a flight every single week through the first week of July after next week. So it is very much and
you were on the
it's
move.
interesting because it's like there'll be times where I'm so like, oh, I'm not booked for anything. And then all of a sudden I'll look up and whether it's my manager or whether it's a work thing or whether it's someone saying, hey, we want you to come out to do this thing at this thing, like, man, it just it happens. So I used to be that girl. I didn't like flying, and then life started happening and work started happening, and so now I've just gotten to a place where I'm like, if I get there safely, I get there safely, and if something happens, well, at least I went out doing the thing that I loved. So
Okay, I know
yeah.
that's right. And
Mhm.
Dr. Paul said if you paying,
That part.
if you want me to if you need me to show up,
Amen.
okay,
Hmm.
book me, baby.
Mother will use her Delta points when
Book me,
needed.
baby. Okay.
Please book me. But yeah.
Speaking of books, let's get
Hmm.
into your book.
Yeah.
I've really enjoyed not just getting into your writing and your online commentary, but also seeing like how people are interacting with you and how they're responding. Because
Hmm.
I'm seeing the threads. Your book reframes blackness,
Yeah.
fatness, femininity, um, as a source of power
Mm.
and not a burden. And I think that's a really powerful message to a lot of people inside and outside of the community.
Yeah.
Um, and it seems like you came to understand and identify and you know and kind of like evolve this source of power over time.
Hmm.
And you talk about some of that journey in your book.
Yeah.
And I feel like some of that included self work, some of that included therapy. And
Hmm.
you've been very open and vulnerable,
Hmm.
especially online,
Yeah.
about your journey with a lot of things. So, as someone who has overcome and also still going through,
Mm.
right? For the people who are still unlearning shame around their identities and how we show up in this world and in the ways that we can control and in the ways that we can't,
Mm.
what does it practically look like to move from managing who you are to fully embracing it and embodying it unapologetically the way that you have?
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful question and a beautiful place to start. I think one of the things that I've had to really embody and just not just my work, but really just my life is this idea that, and I know it, like I said, it sounds super cliche, but I talked about this in my TED talk years ago. I remember hearing RuPaul once say, what other people think about me is none of my business. And I kind of took that and was like, yeah, that's a really good point. But what I did in my mind was I expounded on that and the notion of, and especially like I said, I learned a lot of this through therapy. A big part of it was learning and knowing that a lot of the stuff that I said to myself, a lot of the stuff that I was doing to myself were not things that I necessarily believed about myself or felt about myself that in terms of causing harm. So to get to the point, I guess my point and what I'm saying is a lot of the stuff that you believe about yourself is not your voice. It is not it's not you. It's something someone has told you to believe. And I think I use my platform. I tell people all the time, part of me being a doctor, part of me having a doctorate degree is not me necessarily just saying, well, I have a doctorate and I'm smart. Yeah, I can read a book or two and I can make sense of a lot of stuff. But the key thing there is to think critically. And when you start to think critically and you start to ask questions and you start to, really challenge, where did that thought or where did that idea come from? A lot of times people don't have a basis for it, right? There's nothing to stand on. So, let's play this game. You come to me and you say, I don't agree with you because you're queer. Okay. Well, Where did you get that from? Oh, from the Bible. Well, I don't believe in the Bible. So let's have another conversation. Where because what you believe and what I believe are two different things. So just because you believe that doesn't mean it makes it true for me. And I think that's the thing that I've had to really kind of use as a core for me to be able to wake up every day to keep being me is to remind myself that a lot of the stuff that I hear, a lot of the stuff that I see, a lot of the stuff that the world is telling me about me, that has nothing to do with me. These are all things that people really, a lot of them are make believe, a lot of things that people have made up in order for themselves to feel superior to me, right? In order for them to feel like they can. And so when you look at someone and you go, you really are not, there's nothing about you that makes you grander than me. Then that's when everything in your world changes. And so that's the thing I've been really trying to, use my platform to share and let people know it's not just a black thing, it's not just a fat thing, it's not just a queer thing. It's a thing of knowing that you have the right to say I am that girl because I am that girl. And you may not believe that, but I believe it, and that's enough, right? Because ultimately what you believe about me has nothing to do with me, period. And so
Mhm.
that takes a lot of the pressure off of me to feel like, well, I have to be what the world wants me to be. Fuck the world. You be what you believe is enough for you, and that to me is enough to help me, sleep well on my purple pillow at night.
Yeah, and it's daily work, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's what I'm hearing you say is, you really have to, it's daily work. It's not just therapy, but it's investment in self, it's
Mm-hmm.
investment in community, it's investment in family. To choose yourself every single day, despite the systems that we've become conditioned to,
Yeah.
especially for us black folks. When we talk about black queer men, like
Yep.
a lot of our stories started in the church. A lot of our stories started with, being ashamed
Yeah.
and wanting, thinking we could really pray the gay away because that's what the preacher told us. You just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned is
And
usually
let's
what
also
somebody told
not to
you.
cut you off, but the preachers are often queer too, but that's neither here nor there. Keep going.
How you
You
not
really
even
want to
living
talk
your
about it?
truth? Yeah,
Yeah.
you're not living your truth. You in the closet
And you mad at me because I like my truth. Okay. All right.
being a false prophet.
That part. Mm-hmm. So, so what now? In the words of Azealia Banks, so what
So
now?
what now when she looked around at them like
So
what
what what
what.
now? Yeah.
But yeah, that's
Mm-hmm.
that's 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 daily work, and I just wanted to emphasize that because it's gonna be days where we feeling it, child. You can't tell me nothing. What did Duran Bernard say? I'm that nigga and that bitch, and
Yes.
I'm feeling myself. And because I'm human,
Mm-hmm.
there's gonna be days where maybe I don't feel like a bad bitch.
That was me Monday. Monday I didn't feel like a bad bitch, but today I do. Today I feel like a bad bitch. Yeah.
And John, I feel
Mm-hmm.
like even in those moments where we don't feel like we're a bad bitch, we
Yeah.
have it's really in those moments that it's most important that we have to tell ourselves, no, bitch.
Mm-hmm.
You
You got this.
are a bad bitch. You're going to get through this, not
Mm-hmm.
because it's a guess, but it's because, girl, you've done it before
Amen.
multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Mm-hmm.
constant self-assurance, constant remembering, remembering our journey, what we've gone through, what we've overcome. See, this day-to-day shit got us fucked up
Yeah.
to where we don't have a moment to even pause
Mm.
and reflect.
Yeah.
It just this system of capitalism has us just going, and always thinking
Perpetual.
about, yes, perpetual,
Perpetual.
thinking about next, what's next,
Yeah.
when there's so much joy to be had in the things that we have overcome.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're even living and breathing in this moment is a gift
Yeah.
because there's so many people who are
Yeah.
not here,
Yeah.
right? There's so many people, particularly in our community, the LGBTQ plus community, who are not here because they didn't make it through some of the things that me and Dr. John Paul are unpacking.
Yeah. And often didn't have the right words or didn't have the resources or even have the emotional capacity to, you know, to make it through. And I think about that a lot. I think about how, there is a lot of privilege. And I have to remind myself that there's a lot of privilege in being well in this moment. There is a lot of privilege in being able to talk about being well in this moment. And I don't want to come across as if I have it all figured out. I mean, again, you can also find me on Substack. I just posted a Substack this morning where I was talking about how, I went from being one of, literally was consulting for myself and having, speaking gigs and all these opportunities coming down the pipeline to now having a full-time job and probably being asked to speak maybe once every 6 months, right? So like the world is changing and my life is changing. But the thing is that I remind myself every day is, I have to constantly tell myself every single day that my ancestors, and when I say my ancestors and my transcestors, I'm talking about James Baldwin, I'm talking about Bayard Rustin, I'm talking about, you know, um, I'm talking about Sylvia Rivera.
Robinson. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking about who threw the brick, mother
Marsha.
who threw the brick, Marsha P. Thank you.
Yes.
I got COVID a couple months ago, and child, and
Oh,
loading
girl,
like
I
an
got
old
you.
Dell computer.
We got to hold each other
Um,
up.
Thank you. But yeah, yeah, Audre Lorde, I even think
Yes.
about, the folks who are living today, that are out here preaching the gospel that we deserve it all. I think that's what I have to tell myself every day of like, the world will try to shrink you because it knows, and I say it meaning white
Mm,
supremacy, it
mm,
knows that you're bigger than it and that you've always been bigger than it and that the ancestors knew you were bigger than it. That's why they wrote, that's why they spoke, that's why they left, a blueprint for us all to follow. And I have to tell myself that every day, that their blueprint is just me adding to the blueprint. And that it is now my turn as a living ancestor to tell the kids that are coming up behind me, y'all can have what you want. And if the world doesn't want to give it to you, snatch it from them. And if you've got a mop, do what you got to do to make sure that you get what you need to have so that way you can have the life. And I'm not telling you to go out to do a life of crime. That is not what I'm telling you to do. But what I'm saying is that it may feel like you have to steal it to a degree, right? Because the world's not giving it to you.
right.
But when you do have it, hold on to it tighter and make sure that someone else has it too. And so that's what I try to do in my work. Like through my writing, through my advocacy work on my podcast, Black Fat Femme, which you can find on iHeart Network. All of that stuff that I'm doing, I'm telling people like you have the right to have the audacity because it's been done for you already. It's been worked out for you already by so many other people.
Absolutely. And I appreciate that message. It gave me the shakes. I had like the Holy Ghost, baby. I had to shake it off. Um, because I'm of the generation, I'm an elder millennial, and I'm of that generation where we were told as long as you work hard enough, you will be good. You will be fine.
Mm,
You will be successful. All you gotta do is go to
mm-hmm.
school. All you gotta do is A, B, and C, and you will be fine. And coming into, our 30s, our mid 30s, even in our 40s, I just turned 40, you know, we're coming to understand like, ooh, that's a myth. That's a lie. That's a
It's a
whole
stone face
lie.
lie, girl. A stone face lie. Niggas lie.
They
Just,
lied.
all
I
these
don't know if you
niggas
remember
is
the meme where
lying
she
to
was like,
us.
it was a
Oh, it's the
lie. It was all
worst.
a lie. So,
Yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
so speaking of choosing self, I want to pivot to the topic of desire because I feel like
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure this was in a Glad, I think you did a Glad interview that I read
Mm-hmm.
online, and you were unpacking how desirability politics, particularly in dating and in media, shape how people see their worth.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and how we have to dismantle
Mm-hmm.
all of that
Yeah.
indoctrination, right? And
Mm-hmm.
and really choose us. We're talking right now about choosing self, validating self instead of that outside validation, which is hella toxic,
Right,
right?
right. Yeah.
So you talked a lot about desirability politics and
Mm-hmm.
how chasing proximity to even whiteness
Yeah.
and the dominant European standards of beauty when it comes to color, shape,
Mm-hmm.
size,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, you know, all of those things. Why do you
Yeah.
think assimilation still, for those of the people who are really struggling, talk about like your moments. What was your hardest moment in your journey
Mm,
when it came to assimilation, when you had to just shake it and like, no, I gotta choose my own path.
yeah. Yeah.
And you either gonna love it, you either gonna love me.
Or
Fantasia
kick
said,
or block me. That's literally what it
you
comes
don't
down
want me,
to.
don't talk to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And if you want me, then
then
don't
don't
talk
talk
to
to
me.
me. Go
Yes.
on and
Yes.
free yourself, child.
Free yourself.
Talk to us
Fantasia.
about
Ooh,
that.
that was a word. I was gonna say yes, yes. I think there are 2 points that in my life where it hit me, and I actually shared this with someone a couple of years ago. I was riding around. So I'll say it this way. When I first learned in terms of my looks and my body and all of that, right? There was a point in time where I thought, if I can just get as close to whiteness as possible, the world will love and accept me. And what I meant by that was I was exercising like crazy. I had straight hair. I was trying to do everything that I could to look as straight as possible. Like I was literally in my mind embodying what I thought would make other white folks feel comfortable and feel safe around me. And it never, like I kept doing it, and things were not happening the way I wanted them to happen, right? And so it got to a point where it just got exhausting. It got really exhausting, where it felt like I was constantly pontificating for white people, and getting to a place where you feel like, when you realize it's not working, and you're just going, girl, why are you doing this, right? And so I think it was having a real conversation with myself when I felt like nothing I was doing was getting me. They say that's the level of insanity, right? Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. I was doing the same thing over and over, was not getting a different result, and I was literally driving myself insane. So that's one side of it, right? Is growing up and recognizing that me being who I am is ultimately what makes this life amazing, right? The fact that I am portly, and I like to eat, and I like to talk about eating, the fact that I am
Period.
very proud to be black, and the idea of me saying, like, being black is kind of scary, but it's fun as fuck. Like, being black is,
Wouldn't want to be
there's
anything else
what and I say this every time, like
in
I say
every
this
lifetime.
almost weekly, every lifetime. God, please make me a black person,
Yes.
because there's nothing like our culture. There's nothing
Whew.
like the way we can look at each other and not
Mm,
say anything. I always call it black telepathy. Black telepathy. There's nothing
there
like
it
the,
is.
certain words, the ways,
Exactly what it is. Yes.
tonality, all of it. Just
Yeah.
being black is a fucking key. And then when you add the queer on top of it, that makes it even better, right? And
Yeah.
so
Pure magic.
learning that, and having to connect myself to the black queer community, and being able to relearn, the or unlearn, I should say, unlearning a lot of the stuff that I thought was wrong with me, and being like, no, that's actually what makes you so much more powerful. And the reason why folks were trying to get you to get out of that is because they wanted to make sure that could keep you where they wanted to keep you. Got it, right? So that there was a part of that. But I also recognize too, I think it's also recognizing in this world that nothing you do, how do I say this? It's so I'm a person who loves to start with a story and then kind of make a point. And so, like I said, I was in a car. I was going to a speaking engagement, and it was a black man who had picked me up. And yes, I'm notorious for I'm very much a label whore. If you know me, you know I love a label. I'm gonna rock a Louis Vuitton bag. I'm gonna have Louis Vuitton shoes on. I'm probably gonna have on something that's gonna tell you that I work hard, and that I like shit.
You
My
like your
watch is Hermes.
things.
Like, I like my things. A
You got
bitch is gonna
pieces.
wear. Yeah, I
Yes.
got pieces. I like nice stuff. And so the person who picked me up in the black car, he could tell immediately. He was like, I just know you do well. You're doing really well for yourself, and I can't wait to get there. And he was explaining to me, like, what his
Mm.
hustle was and all his stuff. And I said, baby, I said, yes. I said, I'm doing okay in this moment. Left him a really good tip, but I said, I want to leave you a bit of advice. And this was something that made it real for me too. I said, no matter what you do in this life, no matter how much money you make, no matter where you go, no matter who knows you, no matter how many pictures you take with people who are famous and all that, you will always be a nigga with money to other people. And I was explaining to him, what I meant by that, and
Come on,
that for
Paul Mooney.
me
Yes.
is, yeah, you're gonna always be a nigga with money, no matter what, and they're gonna want to know, what did you do, how did you beat me, how are you doing better than me? And I think that's what keeps me grounded in this life, is recognizing the nuance of money is not going to change my life. Money is, me being in a position of power is not going to change. I'm still going to have to deal with racism. I'm still going to have to deal with fat phobia. I'm still going to have to deal with femphobia. And so when you can acknowledge that and accept it as a part of, okay, this is how I move in this life in authenticity, that is what makes it easier for you to be who you are. And so that's the reason why I no longer like, I mean, even my Substack is called the Unfit Professional. I know, and it's a double term, right? Unfit in the sense of I'm fat, but also unfit in the idea of knowing that I don't fall in, I refuse to fall in line with what respectability politics are, or what other quote unquote black people or even other white people think I should be performing as. And I even talk about this in my dissertation, like the performance of it all. A lot of the stuff that we see in our lives is performance. It's you doing
Mm.
something to make other people feel comfortable. And it's not saying you
Yeah.
have to be, and I say this about anybody, no matter what race, being loud and being egregious and all of that. Yeah, I mean, nobody wants that in general, right? But what I'm saying is there's an instance of when you have a what I like to call a black cackle, right? When you're cackling with other black people and you see white people being uncomfortable and you go, let me stop cackling because I don't want those white people to be uncomfortable.
Mhm.
Now I live in a place of if I'm laughing and you're not laughing, that means that this conversation is not for you to understand, and that's why you're not laughing. Sorry, girl, I can't help you, right? And so that's what I'm trying to embody is this idea of being black is fun, being black is laughter, being black, being fat, being queer. It's all about reclaiming those moments when you felt like you had to self process and you had to kind of self select when you can show up, and not doing it and saying fuck that, I'm just gonna be who I am, and if people don't like it, oh well. So
And being black is so much a part of the survival because I truly feel like our ancestors left us the blueprint,
and
and
did.
it is pumping through our veins. I want to, as we start to wrap up here,
Mm-hmm.
just a few more things for you. We were just talking about proximity to whiteness, and I'm just curious if you're ever challenged, and if you are, what is your response? Because you're married to a white, your
Yeah,
husband is white,
he is.
and it would come from someone, before you answer, I'm just going to say this. It would
Mm-hmm.
come from someone who doesn't follow you because anyone who follows you knows that you black, loud, unapologetic. You speak up. Like
I'm,
I would never question,
mm-hmm.
is she down? Is she like them or is
Nah,
she one of us? Like definitely one of us,
I'm
I
mad
agree.
niggerish, yes.
But somebody who doesn't know
Yeah,
you,
and you.
just picked up your book or just
Mm-hmm.
found you on social media, have you been challenged
Oh
because
yeah,
of your
always.
proximity to whiteness? And
Yeah.
what's your response to those people?
Yeah, so this is the thing. I tell people, like I said, I've been married to my husband for 16 years, and I truly didn't have what I like to call my black, what do you call it? My blackening, my black coming out per se. I didn't have that until probably maybe about 4 or 5 years after I met him. So what I will say is this: blackness didn't mean as much. The way I frame it with people is blackness didn't mean as much to me when I met him. To be honest, when I met him, it was very much he likes me for who I am. He's not trying to change me. He's not trying to make me someone else. At the time I met him, it was very much a game of everybody I was dating was you're too effeminate. That was literally the comment I was getting. It was never you're too black. It was never you're
I
too
wish
this or
we
that.
had time to unpack that, but I
Right. It
really
was
wanted to talk to you
always
about your experience in dating
I
and
know. I
yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I'll come back. If you want me to come back and we can talk more about
I
that, we
would
can.
love for you to come back.
Yeah, please
Yes.
girl, put a time on the calendar. I'll come back and
Okay.
I'll gab about that. But my quick answer was at the time I met him, it wasn't you're too effeminate. It was very much I like who you are. I think you're funny. I think you're fun. Let's hang out more, right? And the more I hung out with him, the more I knew he knew people I knew, the more it became, oh, okay, this is a safe person for me. I don't have to be anyone other than John around him. And that's how we fell in love with each other, and that's why we've been together. Now, when I
All
had
the
my
things
black
that any of us, all of us, most of us are
I'm
looking
looking for,
for.
right?
Yes,
When
absolutely.
I had what I like to call my Black Awakening, it became a game of will he be able to understand what this part of me is now and how important it is? And if he can't, he's got to go, or he can stick around and learn too. And it was the latter. He said, okay, I'm a white man. I know I have privilege. Can you help me understand that? Because I'm going to do the work I need to do on my own, but I also want to understand what privilege means to you, but what privilege also means for me. And so he started doing his own work while I was doing my own work. And we kind of came in together where we said, it's never going to be about, and I hate saying this because I know
Yeah.
people can say, well, it's not about, when people say, oh, it's not about race, I know what they mean when they say that. In this conversation with me and him, it's not about me being a black man being married to a white man. It's a game of we both recognize all of the oppression we're all facing, right? He's facing issues as a queer man. He's facing issues as being married to a black queer man or a black queer non-binary person. What are we doing collectively to love on each other in this moment to make sure that we're protecting each other and looking out for each other? And so when he comes home from work and he's telling me that, my husband works at a bank. So he tells me, oh, a black woman member experienced this thing at the bank. I knew that she was going through it and that I didn't want her to go through it alone. So I stepped up and I did this thing. That's him showing up in his privilege, right? That's what makes me love him even more, is
Mm.
knowing that he sees me not just as his partner, but he sees me as someone who is collectively struggling in a world that's not built for them and that he's stepping in to help support. So when someone comes to me and says, well, how are you pro black when you're married to a white person? I go, it's the same way when you have white friends and you tell your white friends, you need to do X, Y, and Z if you truly love me. It's the same concept. It's just I go to bed with this white man every night. I wash his dirty clothes. I wash his dirty plates. Like we love each other, and part of that love is me looking at him and saying, "Yes, you're white." And there are a lot of things about you being white that makes me want to jump over the edge of jump on, because baby, let me tell you, it ain't easy. But what I will say is that I love him because I know that he actively loves me and is wanting to do the work that he's being challenged by me to do to love me. And I think that's the thing I think people miss in these conversations. So yes, it's proximity, but I don't take it for granted. And I even know that there's privilege in that, right? It is privilege. There's a lot of privilege in me being married to a white man. But at the same time, I will tell you right now that he would probably jump up and say something about an injustice before I would, because he knows better and he knows what the expectation is. So,
And
mhm,
shout out to your man. And I'll just say, like, for white people to like use their privilege in spaces, whether we're present or not, more so when we're not present,
mhm,
to either combat racism or stand up for injustice or just use your privilege to do something right for somebody else that's not in your community or doesn't look like you. Platonic or romantic, that is such a turn on. So thank you.
mhm, mhm.
Y'all keep doing the good work. And so real quick, because I'm so sad I have to get up out of here and get to the Philly Black Pride Board meeting. You know, we just had Pride in Philly last week, April 20th um, to the 26th or the 27th. And so it was a busy week. We had a really great week on top of commending and honoring 250 Philadelphia LGBTQ plus change makers. We
I know
really had a
that's
good
right.
time. So we have a debrief of Pride in a few minutes. But before I dip up out of here, I have a few more, just some church notes
Mhm.
for you. But before I read them off, remind the people where they can find you on social media.
Again, you can find me at www.drjohnpaul.com, where you can find more information about me, my book, about all of the stuff that I'm doing and the things that are to come. You can also follow me on all the socials, specifically Threads, Instagram, and the Clock app, which I call TikTok, at Dr. John Paul. If you want to learn more about my podcast, you can head down to iHeartMedia, where you can learn more about the Black Fat Femme podcast. And if you want to learn more about me and my journey, how the podcast became a thing, how the book became a thing, you can head over to Hulu and watch Who I Am Meant to Be, where I talk about my journey. So,
Well, before you get up out of here, Doctor,
yeah.
and I already wrote it down in my notes. We're going to do a part two, and I already have things that we need to talk about. So I'll be reaching out to you to schedule.
Hmm.
That'll be a really good time to do a part two with you.
Okay.
To close out, though, I just wanna one of your threads. This I think this was from yesterday. You talked about how bringing in your 40th birthday wasn't the most eventful. You were getting over long COVID. You were
Hmm.
in the middle of rebranding. You were pushing out a book that an old agent was not supporting you at all,
Nope.
ghosted you, left you
Nope.
high and dry, as you
Nope.
said. You
Yep.
said stress isn't even the word. With that being said, this year I'm celebrating me and all I have done to get to my 41st. Aruba, I
Hmm.
can't wait to be in you, girl. I just
Yes.
wanted to say, I really hope you enjoy yourself. I love traveling. I love warm weather. I love to feel the sun on my skin and sand
Amen.
on my feet. And I know you travel, you know. Whitney Houston said, I've been around the world.
Hey, girl, I've been in a couple places
I've
here
been
and
around the
there.
world.
Yes,
What?
I have. I have been. I think the furthest I've gone is France at this point. I wish I want to go further. I want to do more. But this Aruba trip is definitely my first kind of take of me being like, I'm gonna go to one of the places I've been wanting to always go. I wanted to go to Antigua, but timing wouldn't allow it, and so I
Next
didn't.
time.
Yeah,
That
well,
that
next
can
also,
yeah, that's on a to-do
but
list.
yeah,
Yes.
it is on the two. I didn't know that they only have like maybe 3 or 4 flights in and out.
Oh, you got
Like
a time, huh?
yeah, and also like it's only four, like 3 or 4 flights like every other day. They don't have. It's not
Oh,
a.
wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's not a thing
You
of
really
like
have
you
to
can.
plan that
You
out.
really have to plan it. You've got to plan it.
Well,
So
you
yeah,
have Aruba to look forward to coming up really
T.
soon.
Mm-hmm.
Why? And you said you have traveled, you've been around the world, you've done a lot of
Mm-hmm.
traveling. Tell the people, because I was just in Mexico
Yeah.
uh in early April. And for the people who are listening, there's an episode, I think it was either the last episode or the one
Mm-hmm.
before this, where I dropped content because I had my lavalier microphones down in Mexico.
Yeah.
And just basking in the joy and why we have to travel more as Black people.
Mm-hmm.
What joy have you found in traveling, and why is it important? Take us out with why is it important for Black people, Black queer people, to travel more?
It's good to get something other than your day to day. But I will also say this. I am a, and again, call me what you want, just put doctor in front of it.
Oh,
I love my thing is I love to fly first class just to watch white people's face crack, just to see them seething because they have to walk past you. Girl,
how
it's
dare you?
how dare you be in 1A? How dare you be in
As I
1C?
walk to
As I have to
31B.
walk this 31B. Yes, it's a you know, and again, call it what it is. You can call me a capitalist, you can call me all of the things, but I think there is some it says something, I tell people this, and again, if you know me and you follow me and you get to know my story, I went from being houseless and from the time I was about 8, I was about 17 and a half to about maybe it was about 6.5 months I was houseless. When I was about 17 and a half, I was getting ready to turn 18, getting ready to go to college. Drove a really beat up car. I've had moments. I got stories that I could tell you for days about the stuff that I've been through. And so
Mm.
to get to this place where now I'm 41 and I can just go in and book a flight to Aruba and just go on about my day like it's.
And it's giving you in the lounge.
Mhm. Yeah. Oh, yes. Mother does have a purple card. She does have a purple Amex, and I
Mhm.
go to the lounge very quite often, and I eat all of the meats and all of the crispy treats.
It's so
But I
nice.
just say all of that to say, like, keep doing the work. It is hard.
Yeah.
There are going to be a lot of people who don't see it for you, but when God sees it for you, when whatever God you serve, I call him Big Sandals. When Big Sandals sees it for you,
Okay. Okay.
ain't
Okay.
nobody else say nothing. So I tell people, you may not see it for me, but God does. Amen. Amen.
Amen. Dr. John Paul, thank you for joining me on the Hunger Podcast. It was really
Amen.
a
I'll see you
joy
soon.
to have you here. And yes,
Yes.
I'll see you soon, brother. Good night.
Good night.